Story 1. I was working as a food delivery guy. I came to drop off an order at a woman's house. I told her, "Enjoy your meal." And she said, "I have a boyfriend." So I replied, "Hope he enjoys the food too." Story 2. My band had played in a bar earlier in the night, and we had left a couple of cases in the storeroom near the bar. A couple of women were sitting in front of the doorway. I walked up and said, "Excuse me." One of them replied, "Ugh, I've got a boyfriend," in a tone as though it was something completely obvious, and I was stupid for not knowing. I said something like, "Okay, I'm more interested in the door behind you. You're in the way." Not the most clever. I couldn't tell if she was relieved or annoyed. Story 3. At a job interview, I went into their little kitchen area for some coffee and noticed that a woman was leaning against the counter directly in front of the coffee machine. I said, "Hey," and before I could say anything more, she cut me off with, "I'm seeing somebody." I was confused and could only think to say, "Okay, but can you move over a little? I want to get some coffee." I'm pretty sure I saw her die a little bit inside. It's not often that you see someone's ego get blasted into smithereens right in front of you, but it happened that day. Story 4. I was out at a bar, and my buddy and I wanted to go out for a smoke. A woman was standing in front of the door to the patio, chatting with a friend. The bar was loud, so I tried to ask her to move, but she didn't hear me. I tapped her shoulder. She turned and gave me the most disgusted look, then continued chatting. I tapped her shoulder again, and she turned back and said, "What do you want?" "I have a boyfriend." Since I finally had her attention, I just told her, "Good for you. You're blocking the door." That's my story. She still didn't move, so I slowly opened the door, and it pushed her out of the way. Story 5. My girlfriend and I see two open seats at the bar we really like. Score. We go up to the bar, and I ask this woman if anyone is sitting in the seat next to her. She fires back with the line, "That's cool. This is my girlfriend." And I point to my girlfriend right next to me. She just huffs and turns around. Story 6. I'm 60, and I look like an old man. I was at a certain sandwich chain shop that has a rewards program where you scan your QR code or put in your phone number to rack up points that eventually gets you a free sandwich. The woman making my sandwich was, in my estimation, in her early 20s. As I went to pay, the computer skipped the part where you input your phone number and went straight to insert your payment card. This happens sometimes. I held up my phone with the QR code and said, "Phone number. I have a boyfriend." Story 7. One of the classics has happened to me in the past. "Hey, may I take this chair?" "I have a boyfriend." Okay. Is he sitting on this chair?" Story 8. Years ago, I was working as an audio engineer, setting up some equipment in an amphitheater for a concert that was going to be in a few hours. I had a huge wound-up cord under one arm and a box full of heavy equipment over the other shoulder. I walked up to a group of girls who were standing right in the way. I said, "Excuse me." They ignored me and kept talking amongst themselves. Louder, I said, "Excuse me, ladies." They ignored me again. Then I singled out the one that was most in my way, got in her eye line, looked her in the eye. "Excuse me. I have a boyfriend." She yelled while scowling at me like I was some sort of swamp creature, to which I replied, "I'm sure you do," in kind of a who's a good girl tone, "but I'm more interested in the outlet you're standing on." She was mortified. She froze. In fact, one of her friends had to grab her and move her off the outlet. Story 9. I was in Target and a lady had her cart blocking the entire aisle. Me, "Excuse me." Her, "I have a boyfriend." The lady behind me, "Does he know you're a dumb bitch?" I was stuck there, doing my best to become one with the shelving units, for 15 minutes while they screamed at each other. I just wanted to pick up cat food. Story 10. I was asking a girl about a patch on her backpack. She said it. I went, "Okay, how the hell is that relevant?" Her boyfriend was grabbing something nearby and heard it. He walked over and said, "Babe, he's not hitting on you. Relax. He's asking about a patch on your backpack." She said I was. He rolled his eyes and explained the patch. It was something for an anime. Story 11. So I knew a guy from high school who told this story when we ended up working at the same grocery store years back. He spotted this lady in her car, on the phone, getting ready to drive away when he noticed she had a bunch of shopping bags on the roof. He kept trying to get her attention, but she kept ignoring him. Finally, she exclaimed loudly, "Hey babe, hold on. I gotta reject this guy who's trying to hit on me." My friend immediately backtracked and changed his mind. He said she seemed shocked and commented that he wasn't even going to try after all that. He simply shook his head. A few minutes later, the woman drove off and all the bags went tumbling off the car, scattering onto the pavement. Story 12. I was in the mall walking behind a girl when I saw her drop a $20 note. It was kind of loose on top of her purse, then fluttered off onto the floor as she walked. I picked it up, walked up to her and said, "Excuse me." She turned around, looked at me, and said in a bored voice, "I have a boyfriend." "That's nice. Here, you dropped this." She looked embarrassed. Story 13. Worked at a sawmill. I was loading a pickup truck with shavings. Before I started, I was going to tell the girl driving that she should close the back window in the truck. She told me she had a boyfriend as soon as I said, "Hey." So I proceeded to load the truck, and the excess dust spilled into the cab. Story 14. Worked at a hotel. Went to this lady to let her know her room was ready. Keep in mind, I'm in uniform and just talked to her 30 minutes before. "I have a boyfriend, go away." Okay, I walked away. She comes back to the desk at the normal check-in time about 1.5 hours later and starts complaining about how she's waited forever and was told we could get her room ready early, etc. Me, "Ma'am, I walked out to your table to let you know your room was ready. You dismissed me and told me to go away, so I did. Your accommodation was ready at that time. Please enjoy your stay." Her boyfriend just smirked at me and dragged her out. Felt like we both won that day. Story 15. A friend of mine invited me to go to an amusement park with him and a bunch of his friends. We are all standing in line for a ride, and I'm just making simple conversation with a girl in the group to kill time. Out of the blue, she says, "You are barking up the wrong tree. I'm a lesbian." I was incredibly confused because I wasn't hitting on her or flirting with her. I replied, What? You know I'm engaged, right?" It was even more confusing because I had been talking about my fiancé not long before, but I guess the girl hadn't heard that conversation. Story 16. On a night out, I told a girl I liked her dress. It was a nice dress, obviously designer. It looked expensive as anything. She said, "Sorry, I have a boyfriend." I said, "Oh, see that guy at the bar? That's my boyfriend." She was apologetic and was nice after, but geez. Story 17. I was out walking my dog around the apartment complex, like I do every morning, when a woman was walking to her garage. I said a friendly hello. She gave a disgusted, "You, I have a boyfriend." I shrugged, shook my head, and kept walking my dog. About 10 minutes later, as I'm just about to my apartment, I happen to pass her garage. She comes rushing up, acting super sweet and flirty. She asks for help because her car won't start, and she can't be late for work again. I gave the most disgusting, "You, I have a girlfriend." Picked up my dog and walked away. I've rarely seen someone so stunned. Story 18. Me. "Hi. My name is," "Your name. Nice to meet you. I've never been to this part of the library. How about you?" Her. "I have a boyfriend. Leave me alone or he'll beat you up." "Why do pigs like you always approach women sitting alone?" Me calls boss. "Hey, yeah, it's me. On second thought, I don't think I can tutor this girl." "Why?" "Oh well, she scheduled me for an hour just to belittle me, apparently. She made the appointment and picked the room. I had a tutor name tag. She was in the tutoring hall. She selected my name out of available tutors at the counter." Ash. Story 19. We were at a very crowded bar watching a huge football game against a rival. ESPN sent a crew to the game and also this famous Manhattan, Kansas bar. There was an average, unremarkable girl sitting at a table for four, and there were only two of them there. To be fair, I am unattractive. I asked her if we could have the extra chairs. We were at a huge table but still were short on seating. It was loud. I have a boyfriend, she insisted 3 times before I just took the chairs, pointed at them, and slid them to our table. I mean, I kind of feel sorry for the guy. Edit to say, it's wild how many of these are just guys who need chairs. Ladies, next time a guy hits on you, just offer him a chair. Story 20. I was working as a pizza delivery guy at the time, walking out the front of the shop, when I noticed a sedan pulling out, with a female driver, about to have problems. I crossed in front of her and made eye contact. Excuse. I didn't get the whole word out, much less a sentence, before she was informing me she had a boyfriend. Great. I had an insulated bag of pizza to deliver, so this was actually no skin off my back. You should call him and see if he can help you with the flat tire you have. She was going to pull out of the strip mall onto a 4-lane, 45 miles per hour road, on a curve with a flat tire. Dear reader, you may find this unbelievable, but she apparently did not have a boyfriend, and wouldn't you know, the position was immediately open. Turns out some women find it attractive when you're not interested in them but don't want them to die in a car wreck. The shocked face she made when I suggested she call her most trusted car enthusiast friend, as I had neither the time nor the inclination to save her any more than I already did, may be a thing I never forget. I kind of waggled the insulated pizza transportation bag at her to emphasize the point, got in my car, and got back to work. This was the only time in my life I got the, "I have a boyfriend" line. Her whole personality and demeanor did 2 complete changes in less than 2 minutes. From "never speak to me, you're the help" to "oh, you're a decent person, please save me, I'm pretty" to "did I just get rejected? Am I not pretty enough?" I'm sure ladies have it rough having to decline all the men who are trying to get a date or number, seemingly all the time, but man, don't ask for favors from someone you just preemptively rejected. Certainly not with the mindset of it being a man's job, and the nearest one should simply drop everything to help you. Story 21. I remember being at a bar, a gay bar at that, and saying, "Excuse me," while trying to get by a girl. She said, "I have a boyfriend." I replied, "So do I. He's right behind me, and we are trying to get by." Story 22. Years ago, I was going into a convenience store when I spotted a man out front who had a tattoo similar to mine, and I stopped to ask him about it. While we were chatting about our tattoos, a woman around our age who was nearby stepped closer to be part of the conversation and simply said, "Oh, my boyfriend has a tattoo. Who knows why?" After that, there was a second of silence. I wished him well and went into the store. Story 23. Girl dropped her wallet as I was going into the gas station and she was coming out. I picked it up and called out, "Excuse me, miss." She ignored me and continued walking. I followed after and said it again, and she said, "I have a boyfriend." I said, "Oh, cool. I'm married. Here's your wallet you dropped." Story 24. At an event with my then wife, we're standing with her sister, a friend of theirs, and a new girl who joins, who is a friend of the friend. I ask if anyone wants me to grab a drink for them as I leave to go to the bar. The new girl asks for something, and my wife asks for something. I leave to go to the bar. Around 10 feet away, the new girl runs to me and says, "I have a boyfriend," a lot louder than she needed to be. As I turn around, I joke, "My wife's there," pointing to my wife, who is laughing at her or me. To this day, I'm still not sure. Story 25. I went to the restroom while at a bar, and while I was in there, she walked up to stand at the bar in front of my beer, waiting to make an order. I paid $7 for that beer. I wanted that beer. Story 26. My wife and I routinely play pranks on each other in public, and it's usually me playing a prank on her. You know, silly things like she would come up to me at Target and share some hand sanitizer with me, and I'd just yell, "Lady, I don't know you," and then walk away. We went out to a restaurant and she got seated at the bar while I used the restroom. I find her and say, "Is this seat taken?" And she loudly says, "I'm married, creep." The person next to her looks over, kind of concerned, and I let out a "Congratulations, I am too," then sat down. She expected me to stumble and not know how to react and totally wasn't expecting me to come back like that, so she was kind of embarrassed. We sat in silence for a few minutes, and she texted me that she couldn't believe she did that. So then I said, "It looks like your husband stood you up. Want to get dinner with me?" The person next to us was getting uncomfortable, as any sane person would, and eventually, she apologized and said we were married. Story 27. I have it the other way. A girl I used to work with at a pizza place had a situation. One of the other delivery guys bought a stick shift car, and I was teaching him how to drive it. She lived alone as she was moving to be with her boyfriend who had just moved. He also previously worked with us. She lived close, so we swung by her apartment to see if she wanted to laugh at him failing and stalling a bunch. In short, she didn't want to go, called him dumb for buying a car he couldn't drive, and we left. We were there for like 2 minutes. Later that night, at around midnight, her boyfriend texted me, "You need to back off, bro." That was a very confusing message, as at the time, I was in my boxers eating a bagel. Story 28. I'm a little jealous that no one has ever mistaken me for trying to flirt with them. Maybe my looks give that "no way in hell he would ever think to ask me out" impression. One time on the subway, this girl was leaning on the rail, and it was crowded. I was trying to grab part of the rail she was blocking so I wouldn't fall. She basically accused me of being a sexual predator or something by saying, "Don't touch me." Story 29. Saw a girl in her early 20s at the gas station. She had a purse with Deku on it. I said, "That's a cute purse. My kids are really into that." She said, "I have a boyfriend."